You're watching JKL, brought to you by
Telkom. T-Cash is here. The faster, simpler way to send and receive money, make payments, and buy goods and services. It's time your money moves like you. Visit a T-Cash agent and register today. Telkom, moving with you.
That's right. Jeff Kanenge Live, powered by Telkom. Telkom, moving with you. And Tony Gachoka is moving fast throughout the last hour or so, waxing lyrical. In fact, Tony, Charles Odhiambo, the head of Ramogi here, the head of Ramogi.
Yes.
People are watching you all the way in a place called Yasamal District in Russia.
My Lord in heaven.
Yasamal District in Russia.
So what I was telling Charles,
yes,
had been there. I said, you know, they lose that Dubai with much care. This was the advice when you asked me, the president and the prime minister shook a hand.
Yes.
And 6 weeks later, what happened?
Right.
I would urge both of them to move with haste and speed. Because when Shakespeare wrote these words in The Merchant of Venice, they loseth that Dubai with much care. It was a story of the man who wanted to save money so he can have chicken every day of his life.
Yes.
When he had enough money to have chicken every day of his life, he had no teeth to eat the chicken.
Yes.
So they lose that Dubai with much care. So Mr. Raila Odinga and His Excellency the President need to actualize this handshake when there is still teeth with them.
Good point, Tony. Francis Atwoli, my very, very good friend, the SG of Kotu. He says, Jeff, I think Tony is speaking a lot of sense, especially when it concerns 2022. It's too early.
Ni mapema.
And he was on the show not too long ago, and he says, one day in politics is like 100 days or 1,000 days.
Jeff, this week, what are we talking about? The legend, Kenneth Matiba.
Yes.
It has transformed, I would imagine, the national politics. Because like Julius Malema said, there will be many people at that funeral. Mama, give us a sign. They are here in their suits. Some of them who are jealous.
Yes.
Mama, some of them who betrayed you when you are alive, they are here. Give us a signal. What do we do, Mama? In Moranga, and there'll be many.
Yes.
Those
who watched your businesses go down.
Yes.
Mama, give us a sign.
Give us a sign. They watch Matiba's businesses go down.
Yes.
His hotels,
yes, everything
when he was suffering. And Mama, give us a sign. I'll be saying, Matiba, give us a sign. They're here among us.
Engineer Senator Ephraim Minor.
Oh, my good friend.
Very good. He says, it's great to see Tony again. Engineer. Oh, my goodness. Muteki Jao, your good friend. I see him here.
Yeah.
Minor Kageni, he says, you've got to love Tony. What a mind. He knows all these key players personally. Please ask him to unmask their real personalities. Who are they?
Well, I want to say that I'll tell you about both. The first time I really spoke to Uhuru Kenyatta about Raila Odinga, Raila was Prime Minister. And his offices were at the Chancery. And at that time, I went with a proposition because ODM had not broken. And KANU was part of the Orange movement that was there for the referendum. Yep. And I remember talking to Uhuru about the historical differences between his father and Ramogi and whether they could make peace. And I will never forget the president taking me to an office of somebody who is not a politician. He calls his anchorman. And I wouldn't name him because he's not a politician. But Uhuru had taken it that seriously, that he took me to that office. So that person is aware that Uhuru said, can you listen to this? Does it make sense? So Uhuru, in the back of his mind, has always wanted to accommodate Raila. I think that everybody in this country should also agree that Ruto outmaneuvered a number of people. Because I think his decision to stand with Uhuru during ICC was also a masterstroke. And when history is written, the questions will be that who moved when. And I think that big as Raila is, Ruto gave him a run for his money, because by joining Uhuru, Ruto made Uhuru unbeatable. So the questions in history will be written about political shrewdness. And that's why I'm saying that the move that Ruto made then was very clever. he must be careful not to make another mistake now, because other people will make new moves like the ones he made. So I'm just trying to say, let's be cautious.
Yeah.
And I think it is important for everyone to be cautious. 2022 is too far away.
Absolutely.
And I also want to, Jeff, now that I'm here, I would like to see Uhuru Kenyatta being allowed. And I think the handshake did that. And for that, I'm grateful to Raila. I think Uhuru has a chance now to govern. And I think as long as he continues talking to Baba sincerely and honestly, he should be allowed to do his job of governing. But we can't allow the president to govern, and we are talking about 2022 every day. I think if you love the president, if Uhuru Kenyatta is somebody you admire and support, I think it's too early to start talking about his succession politics.
Yeah.
Let's get to some work, you know.
Sure,
let's serve the people of Kenya, you know. Let's get some achievements, you know. Build
Absolutely.
some roads and bridges, you know. Build electoral reforms, redo the IBC, do those things that we need. Because how are you going to run in 2022, Jeff, when you have no IBC?
Yeah, that's key.
You know,
key.
so why are people, how do you have elections before you sort some of these issues?
Yeah.
So I'm just advising the supporters of all sides not to be overzealous and not to be in a hurry.
Absolutely. KJ. Mweshimiwa John Kiaria. I've still saved him as KJ on my phone. Mweshimiwa from Dagoretti South, right?
Yes.
He says, say a big hello to TG. He says, this is must-watch TV.
You know, Koinange, there's something I wanted to remind you. You know, when the struggle in after the Second World War, a lot of people didn't understand why the United Nations and all these things were formed. Because, you know, the European Union, all this, these were countries at war. And at the end of that bitter war, people came together to make Europe a closer continent, including the creation of a United Nations to try and avoid and avert another global war. And I think wherever mankind has ever had problems and challenges, many have responded towards bringing together. And one of the things I think that is so important about the handshake, whichever side of the political divide you are, do you want to govern a country where you are not respected? Do you want to govern a country where you're not at peace? Do you want to govern a country where you're not happy? And I think if I want to be a president of Kenya, or I want to be a deputy president, I would like to be a deputy president of the whole Kenya. You know, I would like to be a president of the whole country. And I think it's so important that this handshake is not thrown away. Because, you know, other generations will not be able to have the benefit of this magnanimity.
Yes.
And I remember seeing last week when Winnie Mandela's funeral was going through, and people were saying the sacrifices she made.
Not he was in prison.
When he was in prison.
Yes. That
she kept this thing going. And a lot of people say if there was no Mandela, Winnie Mandela, there would be no Mandela.
Yes.
And actually, arguably, there would have been no you know, movement in South Africa.
And freedom wouldn't have come when it did. A lot
did.
of people argue that,
exactly.
by the way.
So I want those people who don't actually support Raila and those who don't support Uhuru to understand that without Uhuru and Raila, this country cannot come together in the way that I pray it can. And so for me, and for that reason alone, I think the handshake is not just a good move, but necessary to allow Kenya, after whatever happens, after Uhuru's tenure is over, that this country can be left as a cohesive, unified country. And I remember Uhuru's father making this decision and saying, let the Mzungus sell their land, we will buy it. Whereas in Zimbabwe, people went and said, chukua ile shamba ya mtu, and they destroyed the economy. And yet, yes, it's popular to say, let's all grab this land and this. And Mugabe went for that populist. But he has destroyed Zimbabwe. I think we need to be careful not to have populist politics in Kenya to the extent that we destroy the country.
Absolutely.
And therefore, I think these two gentlemen, and given their historical viewpoint, that Jaramogi and Raila's father there and Jomo Kenyatta have such a history where Jaramogi said, wacha Kenyatta achukue kiti. There will be no Uhuru without Kenyatta.
Not yet Uhuru.
And I think that it will be very sad when Uhuru is in charge of Kenya and Raila is meaning well with the handshake, because there's no election. By Raila shaking the hand of Uhuru, he says, you're the president. I've agreed. So let's sort out other matters. Then 2022 will find us.
Find us.
So if the former prime minister can have that magnanimity after all the political pressures he has had. I think those who are within the Jubilee camp trying to dissuade the president are taking away from him a legacy of history that I would want Uhuru to allow the historians to pen in his favor. That here was a president who put the interest of the country above his own. And what he has left is a country better than his father left him and left us, because Uhuru did the right thing. And I think if you look at, for example, even now, Kim Jong-un is going to meet Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I didn't think a lot of people could have bet in our lifetime.
Very few.
That you would see a U.S. president meeting with a North Korean leader.
Absolutely.
But if it is to the benefit of the world order, that they sit down and shake their hand and move on, then it is better than what we saw in Libya or in Iraq, where the West comes in and destroys a country, or what's going on in Syria, and the country and the people suffer. So I would like to urge this country, now that I'm on Jeff Kenange Live, now that there is no chance of me being taken to committee again, because today we are not naming any names. Let me say this: let us, Jeff, pray and support that this handshake means well for Kenya.
You got a question here all the way from New Jersey.
Yes.
Lister Nyaringo.
Yes.
Lister all the way in New Jersey says, Jeff, thanks for this interview, this coverage. Kindly ask Tony, why has he been so silent throughout the election cycle, only to emerge after Uhuru and Jacob's handshake?
Well, at a personal level, I'd like to answer that. The Prime Minister, as I said, the former Prime Minister is a very good friend of mine. And Uhuru Kenyatta is my brother, and I cannot fight my brother, and I could not fight my friend. So I decided to allow the people to decide. And what a better time that Kenneth Matiba said, let the people decide. So I said, let the people decide. Taught by Mzee. So it wasn't my fight.
Next you're going to be quoting Kariuki Chotara, aren't you?
No, what I
Babangida.
Jeff.
Remember that story?
No, you know the one that touches my. Babangida is an interesting one, but there's one that I will never forget.
Go ahead.
Gengi Muigai.
Yes.
Was a very good friend of my father. So Gengi Muigai always used to tell me, Tony, the problem with you're looking at politics because imepangwa na watu. If you see ile game is on the table na watu ukicheza utaanguka, so if you see a game we piga teke we uanze yako, so now sasa huwezi kucheza na imewekwa na wengine. So what is happening with these chaotic issues in watu wanacheza dama na imewekwa na mwingine? You cannot find Ruto ameweka dama alafu wewe ucheze, atakuangusha. Wewe piga hiyo utengeneza yako. You have to be able to be innovative. So I wanted to tell you the story and the more of the story for those who want to engage in politics. Wewe weka game yako kama Gideon amejaribu kuweka. Kama ataenda mbali ujui, lakini at least game ni yake. Sasa wewe enda uweke yako.
Yes.
Alafu mkutane wapi hapo mbele, lakini huwezi kucheza. Gideon cannot play Ruto's game. Ruto ameweka game yake, si ataanguka. Wewe kama wewe ni Gideon, weka game yako. Kama wewe ni Raila Odinga, vile aliwacha watu NASA wamelala, alikuwa ameweka game yake. Sasa angalia Wetangula anaita Ruto usiku. Labda Raila knew. So akaweka game. Huyu by the time they are calling, I hear Kalonzo wanted to go and see Moi. By the time he's calling the number, Raila was there. Ati mimi ndara kuona hapo. Oh Lord, I'm telling you, this people. Wewe cheza game yako Kalonzo, wacha kucheza game ya Gideon. Gideon anapeleka kwa baba yake, the person he was. Come on. He wanted to take you, he'd have taken you.
And he didn't.
He took Raila. Make your own game.
Tweets, Tony, tweets.
Yes, my friend.
Lulu, okay, first one. Lulu, ask Tony what he thinks of how Nairobi County is being run.
Terribly. I said today we don't want to name people, but it was a mistake in this county that people thought they are getting Igade and Sonko.
Yeah.
And they got Sonko alone. I think, in my humble view, he's been overwhelmed by the task and the magnitude of the work. And I feel that it is so sad there has not been a deputy governor who we thought would have filled in the holes.
Yeah.
Everybody, and Sonko is a guy I know, but everybody knew he needed help. Even he himself knew.
So why did Polycarp quit, Tony? Why did he walk away from this? And by the way, a lot of people voted for this ticket, saying, you know, Polycarp will take care of the day-to-day. Sonko can go on the take care of the ground.
If I was advising Polycarp, I would have stayed. I think he had a bigger service to the country and a bigger service to this county than what he did.
Do you think Kidero's laughing where he is? Is he laughing his head off?
I would say that Kidero is not just laughing. Kidero is actually looking back and saying these people have reshaped the Kenyan politics from populism, because you see what happened. Kidero was defeated by populist politics. So I think Nairobians and other Kenyans in future may look and say, hold on, I know this is populist, but now hold on. What about bread and butter? Yeah. And I think those are some of the things that hurt Peter Kenneth. I think a lot of people are saying, hold on, should we not look at the content of character? I was saying to you earlier, who can be able to deliver and to do things in the country other than who is the most populist person? And I think that that kind of politics is hard in America. If you go to the USA, they elected Donald Trump with populism. But that man, I tell you, Jeff, every day he wakes up, he runs the country by Twitter. It is shocking. Even, you know, it's frightening because you do not know what the man,
what he's going to say
the leader
today.
of the free world. You do not know. So I wanted people to understand this populist issue can also destroy many countries. I think people need to understand that we need to look at people who have got some track record and who can make a meaningful contribution in their lives. Yeah. And this is what I would hope in Africa will happen. And that's why I miss Madiba. I miss Mandela, because he only wanted one term in office.
And he walked away.
He walked away. What did I do for South Africa? He thought it was enough. He walked away. I think we need selflessness in this country, where people don't believe that I am the alpha and the omega, or I'm the best thing since chewing gum. You know, I think it is important for this country to be able to see transitions. I remember, even with all the imperfections of South Africa, in Mandela, Winnie Mandela's funeral, when you see Zuma and you see Becky and you see that transformation,
all the ex-presidents,
they're there. You know, that beauty. And that is one thing I keep telling people about this country. Every time you see Moi and you see the former Prime Minister Raila and you see Uhuru and you see Kibaki, whatever is wrong with Kenya, that's okay, because there is smooth transition of power. And transfer of power. And I don't know why, when that is good, people see that that is bad. People need to understand that we need to be able to see that people who we support are not in power, and it's okay.
Good man. Next, Michael Kamau. What does Tony Gachoka have to say about Kenya police mistreatment to the public in relation to what happened to Ken Matiba then?
I think that it is such a sad part of Kenyan history that we have had to have people like Matiba suffer for our freedom. But I want to tell Kamau that I know Matiba was happy that he had to suffer so nobody suffers again. I know it's ironical and it's painful, but if we had no suffering of Matiba, we would not have had multi-party democracy. There was in this country a one-party rule of KANU. It is Matiba's selflessness and sacrifice that helped single-handedly to usher into this country multi-party democracy. And for that, the Forum of Restoration of Democracy, the champion and the guy who alitoa hali na mali ni Kenneth Jindo Matiba. And he suffered. But you know, because of his suffering, this country is free. But where I want everyone to know is that Jomo Kenyatta suffered, as did J.M. Kariuki, as has Matiba. And I want us to celebrate these heroes the same way we celebrate Mandela because he suffered. In other words, I don't want to look at Kenneth with pain and tears as much as Kenya is crying for Matiba. I want to look at him as an icon who has liberated and brought prosperity to this country, because through democracy we have brought in prosperity.
If Ford had stuck together, Tony, if he had stuck together in that first 1992 election, would Matiba have been the third president? Absolutely.
In fact, this is a very good point that you have raised. You see, when the Muite Commission, the legal commission, was making recommendations of a new constitutional order, that's why this 50+1 issue came. Because you see, Moi never used to win by more than 30%, 34% of the vote. What he would do is split the opposition. So, of course, you have Mwai Kibaki running against Matiba. Then Wamalwa Kijana is running, whatever. So the opposition collectively had more votes than Moi. But you see, Moi had a solid base with his Kamatusa, for example, vote at 30-something%. So when you had these changes of 51%, now Moi would never have won because you would then have a runoff. Forced upon it, and then you'd have only 2 candidates. So I think in those days, it was the idea of divide and rule, and for which Moi was a master. And you must agree, he would be able to divide, and they would not come together. And that's why these coalitions of today are beginning to fascinate Kenyans. That you mean people actually want to come together before elections because they know if they split. And that's why I was telling you about Musalia and whatever. I don't have nothing against them. But if he stands and Wetangula stands and Kalonzo, it will mean nothing because it's divided.
Yeah.
So they must decide among them what they are doing to have collective advantage.
Good man. Honorable Gunjiri Wambogo, Nyeri Town, right? The handshake has changed Kenya's politics fundamentally, and it affects 2022 politics radically and completely. The players might not change, but the game will. And the constitution must change because the game has changed.
I think, to me, and why I would tell Wambogo, is when Uhuru is president, and Raila has agreed to shake his hand, it is in his interest to allow constitutional change, to have a prime minister and a president. Because tomorrow you will have a president who is not Kikuyu, but a Kikuyu prime minister. You will have a prime minister who is not Kikuyu, but a deputy Kikuyu prime minister who is a Kikuyu. So it is in everybody's interest, in my view, to create competitive politics by allowing a meaningful change when we can do it. You may not be able to do this post. Look at the American politics, Jeff. I think you went to school in America. You can't pass anything in the Congress. Yeah. Because it is cut in the middle. Absolutely. It is so strenuous to pass anything in the American Congress because Republicans and Democrats cannot agree. Correct. I am saying to Kenya, there is a window of opportunity where the political will exists with the handshake for these things to be done that cannot be done, and Raila is not running against Uhuru. So it's a window. After 2022, there would not be that window because there will be competitors with Ruto and other people. So there is a window, Jeff, which is 3.5 years old, 4 years, where things can be done without the pressure of
And if we miss that window?
Jeff, if we miss that window, what will happen? The Luo will not have a leader because if Raila doesn't run and retire, there will be factional fights in Luo land, who takes over from him. Uhuru will retire. You know, this man, my friend, he'll be in Monaco or somewhere in the south coast. Diani. When Uhuru goes, please, who will be the head of the Kikuyu? Let me say this. We have a window, an opportunity right now before competition allows these areas to create new kings, that we can sort matters now so that elections are competitive without fear. And I think that this is a window that is slowly closing.
Okay. Daniel Maithia, you say, loving how Gachoka is analyzing issues. Jeff, ask Tony if he thinks we can have a deputy president or president come from Central Kenya in 22.
Critical. And this guy is, whoever is writing this, these are the important questions. That to feel you are going to inherit vote without something on the table is impossible. So whoever is wooing the Kikuyu will have to say, look, what is on the table for you? And that is why I'm advising even the supporters of the deputy president, create a prime minister. Create a deputy prime minister and a president, because tomorrow you might need to go to Central and say, I'm running for president or I'm running for prime minister, but you're taking this or you're taking that position. And this is why if you don't do so, what will happen? You will not be able to build those coalitions. Remember, my friend Uhuru Kenyatta is a beneficiary of the ICC peace. I think both Ruto and Uhuru forget to what extent their communities were so bruised by the conflicts that led to the Hague issues, and people forget that they came together and that honeymoon created the goodwill for their re-election. I don't think people should imagine that honeymoon will come again to another leader. It was unique to Uhuru Kenyatta, it was unique to Ruto, because both were opponents, they were protagonists. Yep. So by coming together, they got a momentum, and that momentum propelled them. And I remember, if you read Machiavelli, it tells you,
Prince.
The prince.
Yes.
You know, politics sometimes half skill and half luck. Yes. We call it fortune, half skill and half fortune. Don't think that tomorrow the chips that fell where they did for Kenyatta or Ruto will fall where they will for you.
And then it also goes to say, fortune favors the brave.
It is true. But let me also say, I told you this, ambition without knowledge
is like a ship
on land. So wewe panga game yako vile Gengi Muigai alisema. na upange na tena ujue when to play the move. You know, in chess you don't go for the queen before.
Correct. You have to work your way.
Yes, it is too early right now to start playing chess. If I had told you last week or last month Baba will shake Uhuru's hand, would you have believed?
Never.
So then where was in the chef wale walikuwa wamefanya coronation in 2022, where are they now? They have to go back to a chess game because hii game ilikuwa ni ya Uhuru na Raila, sio yao. So wewe tengeneza yako. Uhuru can wake up in the morning and tengeneza another game. Alete Baba for handshake.
Dr. Mutwiri Wilson, Tony Gachoka, the Julius Malema of Kenya.
Oh my, you can't make this stuff.
No, you cannot. Mama, give us a sign.
Mama, give us a sign.
Robert Somolong, he said the show is hot. Ask Gachoka if he can become the Kikuyu kingpin. Because he looks like one.
Anyway, since this is a national show, let me say this. I think the Kikuyu have a very hard job because by their number and by their privilege in this country, because Kenyatta was there, Uhuru, Kibaki have been there, they have rich and wealthy lands. They have a role to play, in my view, to show magnanimity and to show comfort. But they must also, people must also know that they need their interests protected. And that is why I think it's naive not to expand the political space. Because I cannot see a situation, even if Uhuru was so to say, that you Kikuyus fuata hii mtu. Now, there is nothing on the table for them, or I would imagine any other political grouping. So I think in order to have inclusive politics in Kenya, as devolution has been such a blessing in this country, and by the way, I have a problem with some parts of devolution, because, you know, when we had the CDF, Jeff, people had a budget and could invest money in each constituency and you could follow. Now we just give governors money and there's no plan. So akipatiwa hiyo allocation, kama kuna project hakuna, lazima akule hiyo pesa imalizike. I would like to see a reform, as Raila and the president discuss this issue, that there is a way in which when governors get money is for what? Because it used to be in CDF a requirement. Now governors kind of get money, and after the event, you find that they use,
another
they
mansion.
do not use. Exactly. So anyway, I was saying that as devolution has expanded the space, I think we need to expand this, the power at the top to have a prime minister working day to day and have a president having some of the executive functions, and I think it will help the country.
Good point. SMSs now. SMSs. Komen Morris from Eldoret. Finally, a handshake from Tony and Jeff.
Oh my. I agree.
John Kathuri is saying, Jeff, with all due respect, Gachoka seems to have his personal agenda supporting Raila. We can achieve a lot without Raila.
Well, I don't agree with him. And I want to say that, you know, even Jomo Kenyatta people went to look for Jomo. Because when the Mau Mau wanted to send somebody to London, and you know the story well, so who is educated and who can help and who can be believable? And he was sourced out in order for him to go and help the Republic of Kenya. And Jomo Kenyatta did a sterling job. I think even if you look at the stature of Kenneth Matiba, very few people other than Raila have that kind of stature of what they have done for this country. And I think if anybody is going to heal the country on the other side of the divide that person doesn't support, it can only be Raila. And what I have said to that guy who is writing is that as much as I talk to Raila, I talk to Uhuru. It's not that I talk to one and not the other. I say you both have the country in half. You need to talk and bring it together because both of you have this opportunity, and a short opportunity when there is no elections. If we wait for 2022, the country will be so polarized, nobody will be listening.
Did Kijana Wamalwa have that stature as well?
Yes, I have a lot of, I would say Kijana Wamalwa without any doubt. In fact, one of the most successful Western politicians was Kijana Wamalwa, and he had that stature. I would also say that not only did he have that stature, he had a national, he was able to go beyond the Luya nation. He was, you know,
if Mukisa Kitui had stayed in Kenya, because, you know, he's out there in Geneva, UNCTAD's Secretary General, if he had stayed in Kenya, would he have some standing?
I have a lot of time for Mukisa. Is one of the most intelligent sons of this country, and this is why I'm telling you, if you ask me, why don't we make Mukisa governor of Nairobi? you know what I mean? This country would gain more because he's an achiever. He's running one of the biggest agencies in the United Nations, and he's a son of this country. I would love to see one day in this country where people like Mukisa are the people who are given, the challenges to be able to transform our countries. And Jeff, I told you earlier, it's not about the color of skin. It's about the content of character. It's about the ability to be able to do the work. And if you can't do the work, don't. And I said, look at you. You're the son of a chief, but you're working. I think you wake up every morning at 3 in the morning.
No, people think it's a silver spoon situation.
I
do this for therapy.
No, I'm here and I can see it's almost midnight and you're working.
I'm coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. So why would people not understand that Koinange can have an identity?
Because they don't want to understand.
Outside the chief.
They don't want to understand. Lucy Mokaria in Meru. Ask Tony, what is his view about Third Way Alliance pushing to reduce parliament?
And I love it. I think that this is why, again, I don't want to keep talking about the handshake. We have too many MCAs. We have too many members of parliament. In fact, if it was in my own ability, I would reduce the counties to slightly manageable numbers. We need to reduce the public wage bill. So any discussion that can allow to have more efficiency in the administration of government is something that I would support.
Would you go back? Go on, sorry.
Like now, a woman rep. Let me ask you, after you've other than the issue of gender, Jeff, what is the executive work of a woman rep?
They don't even have a budget.
So what?
There's no budget.
How much money are we paying every year to women reps, and yet we are not giving them jobs to do? It's not that they are not capable. Women of Kenya can work, but give them a job. So we've got this enterprise in Kenya. Just create elective seats. And you elect people and you don't actually know what actually work they do. And the public is paying this. In a country where the common man is earning below $1 a day, I mean, it is not a sustainable model of development. It must be addressed. And this is some of the issues I'm saying. Instead of 2022, can we discuss them now, sort them out, so that we can go beyond 2022 and with a leaner, cleaner, efficient...
359 members of parliament.
Jeff, it is crazy.
With salaries.
For Jeff, let me tell you, and you know how much they earn, and the loans they take, and whatever. And then after parliament, go to the MCAs. And those MCAs travel more than governors. There is no MCA who is in Kenya for more than a week or two. They're in Beijing, I don't know where.
In Washington, in Prague.
One day I went to see Mzee Baba in Bondo. He told me this MCA, I never see them. They're always traveling. So, you can't, and it is a real issue that it is the public who are being played by these people. And the governors are helpless. They tell the governor, utaona, where guza sisi. Kama utafanya hiyo, we'll remove you, we'll impeach you.
So they hold them to ransom.
Absolutely. And that is why I'm saying beyond the day-to-day politics, we need people of stature who can come up, as Kibaki and Raila did with the 2010 constitution, change some things now that we have seen are wrong. Not everything is perfect. Fix them now when there is not an environment of elections. Jeff, election environment is poisonous. In this country, it is tribal, and no logic prevails then. You see, you need to do these things. And one of the reasons even my friend Meguna is not going to have much impact is because his dispute was about an election contest that Raila won and Uhuru lost. The moment Raila shook Uhuru's hand, what is the contest?
It's done.
So therefore, you can't be a general about what? So we got to, the elections are over. So there is a chance to fix what is wrong in the country.
Fix what's wrong. Good point. Killian in Nairobi says, Tony, the 3 principles brought the needed numbers to NASA. Raila could not get 2 million votes from Ukambani without Kalonzo. Luyas could not vote for Raila man without Mudavadi or Wetangula.
What I want to tell that same person is I'm privy to other matters happening now in Western. There is Oparanya, Ojamong. Where are these people? Where are they politically? Where is Wamalwa? Where is I don't know. The other. So you see, political people come and they are replaced. You remove Namwamba, you bring in Raphael Wanjala. So it is not that Raila cannot work with other Luya leaders. The other Luya leaders who had no space because Mudavadi was there, who had no space because Wetangula was there. I am not saying that Raila will work without Luyas, but it is not that those are the only Luyas in the country that Raila can work with. And I think you will see realignments of other leaders who are going to emerge over time. And I think this is why I'm saying 2022 is very early, because I remember a time when in this country, Musalia Mudavadi was so sure that UDM under Kibaki's watch and Professor Wanjohi, he's going to be the president. I remember attending a meeting somewhere where Uhuru had been told Mudavadi is a preferred candidate. And I remember Uhuru signing documents even at night saying Musalia achukue kiti. When I went to Caledonia and I found Kabogo, these are things we'll discuss in. You know, at the end, Uhuru disowned the agreement. But so this is why I'm saying it is, you've got to be very careful in politics that even politicians can do things on their own. I think you have to carry the people along. And I think that there will be new leadership changes. And I've said about the two communities where I think there will be a vacuum, the Luo community and the Kikuyu. And it will be very interesting to see who's going to emerge as the leader of Western. I'm not sure it's Musalia and I'm not sure it's Wetangula. That jury is not out yet. And I think there will be realignments there. And that's what I'm telling your viewer, that is ongoing. And it will be tested in 2022, not now.
Absolutely. John, Tony, why change the constitution now? Just because a Kikuyu has no chance now?
I don't think it's about not having a chance now. I think it is about when in a country there is space to change things because you are together. Jeff, let me give you an example. You know, there was a moment in the 60s when the colonial powers were all being removed because the freedom movement was growing everywhere. And there was this opportunity for those countries to live and allow countries to be free. Those opportunities were seized and those countries became free. I'm only saying circumstances now, today, exist where you can actually get political unity to change laws. And I don't think Kenyans should take that for granted. That will always be the case. For example, under Moi, when there were 5 presidential candidates, it's not that Moi won, but the opposition lost.
Right.
Because you had Matiba, Kibaki, Wamalwa Kijana, and Gilu, whoever, 5 guys running against Moi. So Moi cuts all the votes. And so all I'm simply saying is that if you are able, when you are not divided, to make reforms for the future, for posterity, do so. Otherwise, what will happen is you will have a polarized country where people feel too much power is invested in the center and they are not able to participate.
Ahmed Mohammed, all the way from Isili.
Yes.
He says, I couldn't even get a breather to tweet tonight. Tony Gachoka is just waxing true but factual, lyrical.
Asante sana. You know, Jeff, there was a song I heard you singing the other day.
Yeah.
Called The Gambler.
The Gambler. You've got to
know when to hold on,
know
when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run.
You never count your money.
Where do you see? So you see, the Gambler, you got to be able to know.
I sang that with Sakaja here.
Yes, absolutely. And I also saw you in Berlin. Yes. I think you're taking your wife.
Yes.
And I saw you singing with a street man at the same time. So I think it's one of your best songs. But you need to know when to fold up, when to walk away. And when to run. And I'm telling everybody in this country, there is no election in the country now in 2018. The election is in 2022. What to slow down? Hold your horses. Let us work. There is a sitting president. There is a government. Tufanye kazi. 2022 is coming. Tutafanya wakati huo. So I am only saying, if we don't do that, this country will be in political mood throughout.
Tony should run for Nairobi governor. Honorable Mitches from Kamkunji saying this. You should run for governor, Tony. What are you doing in Diani? What's this retirement about, man?
I don't know. I felt that I'm 49 this year, Jeff. And before I'm 50 next year, I thought it is important to take a breather from the public to be able to read and write. Because as you know, as an author, it's really refreshing to write a book and so forth. So I like to read, I like to write, I like to reflect. So sometimes when I'm there in Diani, I'm reflecting. And obviously, I've had my good friend from Kamkunji or supporter from Kamkunji saying good things. But sometimes there's a time to reflect. There's a time to think about things. Take a step back.
Meshach Kimtai says, today, for the very first time, I agree with Tony. The only thing is, he shouldn't undermine WSR.
I'm not. I'm advising. You see, William Ruto is a person who has the highest chance of becoming a president. But truth has to be told that there is a time for that contest. and the time is not now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And my advice to him is that if his supporters become overzealous, they will burn out, because they will burn too much fuel, too much oil.
Yeah.
Nabadu.
You peak too soon.
But, so that's my advice.
There's one governor that's been very quiet. I mean, I think he spent the last few months or few weeks overseas. 001, the Sultan himself.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
No, I think that this kind of things should not be accepted. I think that elections of CEOs in counties is a very serious matter, and I think the public deserve a working governor. And whoever you are, whatever you are, if you are not interested in working or running your county, I think you should not be in office, because the county is meant to hold you to account, and you're meant to lead by example. You're meant to be the one, in fact, what was the whole issue of devolution, Jeff? It was that we need a working person, mashinani. And I think that if I were Joho, I would be more on my desk and more on the ground and help the people of Mombasa. In fact, the other day I was driving huko Mombasa, ukiingia bana, the garbage, I tell you,
it's terrible.
Have you seen?
It's filthy.
As you are, and
the
gateway to the airport, to all the hotels. And so I would, if I was Joho, be more alert at the job. I'm not here to bash anyone, but I would rather that we have a working governor and to be there. And as we watch the world order, Jeff, just to give a macro view of where I see things going, I think there is almost a sense now that the people of the world garnering towards inclusive, coming together more than going apart. And I say this because it almost tore the West, where the white name, a tag was beginning to become protectionist, where because of immigration or not liking brown-colored people, countries across the spectrum, from the US to Europe, started to make fascist parties, that really were about white, Anglo-Saxon Christian white men.
Wasps.
And it was. And you see, if that had been allowed to happen, it would destroy Europe, it would destroy the US. I would hate to see the same in Africa, where people are polarized because of either the color of their skin or where they were born or where they are. I think we need a more inclusive politics worldwide, and I would like to see that here in Kenya. Yeah,
well, Tony, we would like to see more of you here on the show.
My friend.
But
retired, but
our MD, Washida Ororo, was very concerned about you coming on the show today. I think he's been sitting on the edge of his seat throughout the show.
Tell him there'll be no legal bills. Tell him we did not say anything about James Bond, except the movies.
The movies,
and therefore there can be no lawyers.
It was Roger Moore.
Yes, it was Roger Moore.
Or Pierce Brosnan.
Or Sean Connery. There you go, Jeff. And tell him now I'm going back to retirement, so he can tell his lawyers to stand out.
But you will come back, won't you, Tony? This country needs you, man. Pende wasi pende.
Let's think about it another time. But Jeff, it's always a pleasure to see you. You are one hell of a hard-working man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And thanks for coming over, man. Honestly, putting things in perspective.
I flew just to see you.
I know that. You landed this afternoon.
Yes. They were telling me, Wilson, are you back?
Now they know you're back. Tony Gachoka, folks, he is back in a big way, waxing lyrical, calling it like he sees it without fear or favor. And that's
what yes. I didn't bring any problems. Relax,
you'll
my friend.
No, Coach is cool now. Coach is cool. Catch this interview on YouTube. We'll be throughout, and also on Viewsasa. Viewsasa presents Tony Gachoka. Tomorrow morning on Jeff and Jalas on Hot 96 from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Tune in. It's gonna be a laugh, a minute, and yes, also inspiring as well. Remember, Jeff Koinange Live is powered by Telkom. Telkom, moving with you. And every Wednesday, the only show to watch is that one with the 3 letters that follow each other on the keyboard. JKL. Did you know that?
And the handshake?
And the handshake.
JKL. You can't make this stuff
up.
No,
you cannot. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, folks. I know we would run a little late tonight, but I'm sure with TG, it was worth every minute. See you here next week, same time, same place, on Jeff Kenege Live. Good night. Good luck.
Okay.